I need everyone's attention, please, for a moment here. I'd like you all to let me know who you think is taller, Ethan or me?
Ethan.
Are you sure that it's Ethan? Hang on, let's stand back to back so it'll be easier for them to see. So Ethan is taller.
Ethan.
Now, if we wanted to know how much taller he is, or how much taller I am, there are a couple of different ways we could do that. All right?
2.
One way
100.
is I could lift Ethan up like that, so our heads are together, head to head, and then somebody can come measure from Ethan's feet to the floor. Can any one of you think of another way to measure the difference between our heights without me having to lift this heavy boy up in the air? Eloise.
You guys go back to back and then measure.
But what would we measure? How would we find the difference between our heights? Head to head, that's right. So we'd stand like this, and someone would come over.
And the shortest person's head to the tallest.
So then I don't have to lift him up in the air, and we can still get the difference. So that's what today's lesson is about. There's more than one way to measure a difference between two numbers. Let's think of another example. Do you know who's older, me or Ethan?
Yeah.
I am older, that's right. How much older? That's an interesting question.
A million years.
Again, there are two different ways.
Question, how old?
Only raising hands. So there are two ways to think about that question. One is to say, look, Ethan is 8.
Oh, by the way, everyone, he's 41.
I'm 42, actually. So one way to think about it is to ask, how old was I when he was born? That's one way we can think about that.
He was 42.
We're not trying to solve yet. I'm just giving an example, okay?
He was 36.
I'm going to ask you to sit back down, Ethan, if you don't behave. Okay.
36.
If we could go back in time
36.
from 42, here's 42, that's my age now.
And here's 8.
If we can go back in time to when he was born, we'd count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's where Ethan was born, and we just ask, how old is Ethan's dad there? And we're not solving it right now. We're just thinking about it. Okay?
We're solving, Alex.
What's another way to think about it? Another way to think about it. Another way to think about it is to ask, how many years from now will Ethan be 42? So we would say, here's Ethan right now at age 8. That's Ethan's age now. Here's my age at 42. And we could ask, how many years from 8 to 42? You see, it's going to give us the same answer. It's going to give us the same answer. It's going to give us the same answer, but it's a different way to think about it. Okay? First way was, how old was I? Ethan, have a seat.
No.
First way was,
Use this one.
thank you, and the lid. First way,
Please, this one.
have a seat. First way was, how old was I the day that Ethan was born? And the second way is, how many years from now will Ethan be my age? Okay? Now, some of you will say, I prefer this way, right? 42, start going backwards. You have 41, 40, 39, 38, 37, 36. Oh, I'm about to get the answer. 34. I was 34 when Ethan was born. Others will prefer this way. How do I find out the distance between 8 and 40? I love seeing the hands, but I'm just going to answer this one myself. Then you'll get some harder questions to answer, okay? So how I would do it, and there's more than one good way to do this. What I would do is I say, look, here's 10, pretty close to 8, right? Just after 8, we have 10. And here's 40, all the way there. And the reason I put 10 and 40 on the board is because it's much easier to find the distance between 10 and 40. Can I see a show of hands? Don't yell out the number, just show me a hand if you know the difference between 10 and 40. If you know the difference between 10 and 40, raise your hand. Now, not all of the hands are up, so I'm going to ask an easier question. Raise your hand if you know the difference between 1 and 4. Between 1 and 4. Okay, good. So if the distance between 1 and 4 is, Jamie.
What's Jamie? What?
Jamie, what's the distance between 1 and 4?
3.
3 is correct. So between 10 and 40, Eloise? 30, that's right. So this distance here is 30, but wait, we're not done.
What?
We have a little bit more distance here.
2.
And we have a little bit more distance here.
2.
So the total distance
34.
is 34. Okay, so 2 different ways to get the answer. What I'd like to do now is I'm going to show you a much harder question, and we're going to discuss whether we'd rather solve it this way or this way. Thank you. And then I'm going to have you all take out pen and paper and try some on your own. In pairs, if we can, Miss Chen.
We don't touch it.
Just give me a second here.
So what if I wanted to know the difference between 1001 and just the number 2? Do you think that I would rather make a huge number line that goes all the way from 2 to 1001 and then figure out that distance? Or would it be better to just say, look, here's 1001. We're going to go 2 units to the left, right? Because we're subtracting 2. So this would be 1000. And this, the answer would be 999. Good. So what's an example of a question where we would want to draw this long number line? Ooh, I got it. I got it. What if you had to do 1003 minus 997? Do we want to place 1003 on the number line and then start walking this many units to the left? Or would we rather just say, look, here's 997. We always put the smaller number on the left and the larger number on the right. And then we ask ourselves, how far apart are these 2 numbers on the number line? Audrey?
6.
That's right. And how did you think about it? I know why you said 3.
3 plus 3.
Yeah, so you thought of a nice friendly round number in the middle, which is 1000. And you said, well, this distance here is 3. This distance here is also 3. So the total distance is 6. Okay? Now, we all learned in school a different way to solve that kind of question. We would write it one on top of the other. Something like that. Did we learn that?
Yeah.
Then we have to borrow 1. Do we still say those words? Borrow 1 and all that stuff? So that's fine. You can do that. Or you could plot them on a number line and just use some nice number in between to figure it out. So just for my own curiosity, raise your hand if you think you still would prefer this method for this question. Okay, I see 5 or 6 hands. Raise your hand if you think maybe actually once you've practiced this, you prefer this method. About half and half.